You're listening to Edging the Truth.
Welcome to another episode of Two Steps from the Edge, presented by Edging the Truth. We are here at episode 17 here in the beginning of November. I'm here with Andy, a.k.a. Fudge. Fudge, we've got a couple of fun articles here. Yours has to do with this latest sign-stealing scandal, if you will, with Jim Harbaugh, which I love. This is definitely a conspiracy. But, and I did not read your article, as we try to, I like these to be surprises for each other. I know very well what sign stealing is in baseball, right? It's the this business. It's the signs to the pitcher, from the catcher. It's from the coach to the wherever, right? To the base coaches, etc. What is sign stealing in football? Is it those big? Because I know I've seen in both pro football and in college football, big old signs with, they've got picture codes. Sometimes they're actors. Sometimes they're, fruits and vegetables, whatever the team is doing. Is that the kind of sign stealing that we're talking about in football?
Yeah. So it's like whoever on each team is on the sideline calling in the plays to either the quarterback or whether it's the linebacker, whoever on the defense is calling the plays in the huddle. It's similar. If you ever watch football, you'll see guys on the sideline going like this and doing this shit similar to the baseball type stuff. And then some of them do it with the signs. Like there'll be a picture of fucking like Superman and Iron Man and shit on there. But so this, it is a commonplace in college football to steal these signs and pick up on them, but not to the extent that this guy working for the Michigan football program was apparently doing it. It is in the rule book legal to steal signs, just not with any electronic devices or any cameras or anything like that, which he was using.
But you mean to tell me that this is? I mean, I've seen this on the broadcast. You can't rewatch the broadcast.
That's what he was doing. That is like 90% of his job. He was watching the games, rewatching his opponent's games on TVs, and specifically looking for that stuff.
With that one piece. Well, let's pull up this article here. Let me present our article here. This gentleman has a great name too, by the way.
I mean, this story, I've been wanting to talk about this for a couple weeks on the show because since it's dropped, it's been the talk of college football. Connor Stallions is his name.
So great.
One of the most polarizing figures in college football, out of nowhere this year. So he is was a low level staffer in the Michigan football program. His role was, I think, technically off-field analyst, and he did something in the recruiting office as well. But it was kind of known throughout the building that he was the sign-stealing guy, and that's what he was doing. And the lengths that this guy went to do so were insane. So this goes back to when he was like a kid. So he grew up. He's been a lifelong Michigan fan. Both of his parents graduated from the University of Michigan. He decided in high school that he had two options on, how to get to be a college coach and insert himself into the rankings. It was getting a college scholarship and then becoming a grad assistant, or go to the military. So he decided to go to the Naval Academy, specifically because there are certain famous head coaches had that background as well. Mike Krzyzewski, Bo Schembechler, Bill Belichick. So he decides to go to the Naval Academy. He graduates from there. He was in the Marine Corps. He retired. He did while he was in school at the Naval Academy. He helped with the football program and allegedly was doing similar sign stealing, espionage type things there as well. So he got hired on officially to the Michigan program in 22. They said any work he did for them before that was completely at a volunteer capacity. So this guy and a group of other low-level staffers from not just Michigan, but I believe around the country, all had access to, read a Google Drive document with 500 to 600 pages on their plan on how to make Michigan the premier college football program in the country.
This is amazing to me.
He had this planned out for like 15 years in advance. And he called it the Michigan Manifesto.
Yes.
First of all,
I love that this is referred to as a manifesto.
It's never good to have a manifesto written by yourself. But he was actively adding to this, editing this, and looking over it daily. 500 to 600 pages of this. When he got hired at Michigan, he bought a house in Ann Arbor, close to campus, but also close enough to the airport that he could rent out as an Airbnb. He was sleeping in his car and using that Airbnb money to pay for these tickets.
Oh my God.
Over the last 2 years, he purchased tickets to 30 games at 11 different other Big Ten universities, and then a couple, I believe, of Georgia and Alabama tickets as well. Basically, anybody that they were about to play in conference, and then anybody that they potentially would be match up with in the college football playoff. So he was sending people to these games to record the sideline, just the sidelines, with their phones. And or whatever recording devices they use. He apparently was also running a vacuum refurbishing business out of his house as well, that he was using
side hustle.
Yeah, that he was using for extra money. He bragged to a person that was asking him for advice, that was looking to get into coaching in the NCAA. He bragged that he was super tight with the offensive and defensive coordinator. On each, there are videos of him on the Michigan sideline, standing next to the offensive and defensive coordinator, depending on what possession it was, specifically pointing at saying run or pass, or calling out what they thought the defense or offense was going to be doing, and then the coordinator calling in the plays. This guy just wants to win, and I don't know.
It sounds like he did his job well, right?
Yeah. So really, the conspiracy here is
who else knew?
Who knew? And it's now Jim Harbaugh has been suspended, which is kind of like a weird suspension. They announced it on Friday night when Michigan was already on the way to Penn State to play them, that Jim Harbaugh is now banned from the sidelines for the rest of the regular season. So he is not allowed to coach on game days, but he can coach during the week. So that's the whole conspiracy. Did Harbaugh know? Did he not know? It's kind of from what I've read, it was kind of like you don't talk to him directly about it. So nobody, so I don't know.
If it was done, he wanted deniability.
So, but it's very hard for me to believe that you are the head coach of that program and you don't know what your assistant coaches are doing, no matter how low level they are. I will say, it is, like we were talking about earlier, it's very much commonplace in college football for these grad assistant type roles, these lower level guys. That is their job, to kind of study, see what you can find out about the opponent's signals or whatever they're calling, and get any advantage possible. But sending people to the physical games and filming them is that is something you are not supposed to do. This story gets even crazier. So on September 1st, Michigan State was playing Central Michigan. There is now video of who people are alleging to be Connor Stallions dressed in full Central Michigan gear with the Ray-Ban sunglasses with the camera in them.
Yes, the Facebook ones, yes.
On the sideline trying to tape Michigan State signals. There is a clip from the game of a Central Michigan player running with the ball, and he gets forced out of bounds onto the Central Michigan sideline. So the camera's clearly cutting over there.
Really close.
Where this guy is standing, and he immediately backs out of the way, and he goes like this.
Oh, wow.
Central Michigan came out and was like, well, we are looking into this. We don't know who it is. There was no one with the sideline pass under that name. Basically sounds like they know it's him, but they don't want to fucking say it's him. So this guy
admit how he got onto the field or something like that.
So it's just it's dirty. It's very dirty. It's scandalous, but you almost gotta fucking respect the hustle because
it's like a successful serial killer. You can't be happy with his work, but you can't deny the success. It's you're like, wow, this guy went to a lot of effort for many years. It sounds like
he's planned his entire
he's had
life.
A plan. Yeah. And which that alone is red flag, to me. When you have quote unquote written a Bible for your life, and then you're just running the playbook of that Bible, that's 500 pages of just your own thoughts and beliefs. I do find it hard to believe. I mean, for one, they should be able to see who accessed that Google document. Right? Like Google Drive, every time someone accesses a document, it tracks it. It says so-and-so read this on such and such time and blah, blah, blah. So I would think.
I believe the FBI was like trying to get into his computer.
Yeah, I would think there'll be some answers about who knew, at least who was aware of what he was talking about. Now, whether anybody was contributing to that document or any of that kind of stuff, that would be interesting to me to see if anybody made it. If anybody made any edits, then they're complicit, at least in the planning. I can understand, if I'm playing devil's advocate, and we've seen a lot of whether it's the Deflate Gate or whatever. I do feel like there's these things are big money, and Michigan is without a doubt one of the biggest big money schools. It would not surprise me if Harbaugh did not know what his next level down, every detail of everything they were doing. I'm sure his mandate to each of those coaches would be assistant coach, defensive coach. I want your guys to scout the defense, and offensive coach, have your people do this. And it's as simple as that, and maybe as vague as that. But who knows? I know there's a ton of pressure on Michigan right now, too. Like, they haven't had the success under Harbaugh. They haven't crushed it in the way that I think everyone was hoping when Harbaugh was brought in. Especially after his success in the NFL, which I think was undeniable, even if they didn't, win Super Bowls or whatever.
Right. And they legitimately have a chance to win the national championship this year. They made the college football playoff last year. They won the Big Ten. They are alleging that other Big Ten teams were stealing signs as well. Allegedly, Ohio State, Rutgers, and Purdue all colluded to share their Michigan's offensive and defensive signals. So Michigan played Purdue in the Big Ten championship game. They ended up beating them by 2+ touchdowns. But apparently Rutgers gave Purdue Michigan's defensive signals, and Ohio State gave Purdue
some trading.
Yeah. So that's also like apparently a commonplace too, because a lot of these coaches are friends and they know each other. You got a buddy here, you got a buddy there. Because coaching in college basketball and college football, it's basically like a fraternity. It's like, oh, you get let go.
Universe.
You get let go from one place. Oh, I have a buddy or somebody I coached with or have a relationship or played for is over here. He'll hire me. So a lot of apparently, and if you have common opponents, that scout and that stuff that can be shared. Apparently, it does happen a lot. So Michigan is kind of alleging they are not the only team doing this, and really the whole question is, it's like I don't. They're definitely not the only team, trying to gain advantage by stealing signs or whatever. But are they the only team that has a member of their staff sending other people around the country to film and videotape other people?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like and I guess that's, I don't want to be
I feel like that's above and beyond what's available to everybody, right? Like the television broadcasts, those are available to everybody, so it's fair game. If you want to steal signs off the TV broadcasts, have at it. But if you're going to actually go create footage for yourself to then use for signs, that's a little tougher sell, and certainly more obvious.
And I should say also, in-person scouting anyway, whether you're filming it or not, is illegal in the NCAA as well for a future opponent. So it's some nasty shit. But it's like, if you want to go down a rabbit hole, I recommend just Googling Connor Stallions, because the guy is motivated. I'll say that. I will say that.
Yeah. No shit, man. I mean, and for a while. I mean, I think when he finally gets interviewed or someone... is he in hiding? What's the story with this guy? Is he in hiding, or what's...
Officially after... I don't remember if it was like I think they fired him, but I think he might have been like, oh, I resigned. I don't want to make myself a distraction from the program during the season. Yada.
Blah, blah. I got it.
But it's all been just statements released like through a lawyer and everything like that. But dude, this will be the appointment television whenever they drop the ESPN 30 for 30 or or whether it's an Untold documentary on Netflix or whoever does it. It's going to be fucking awesome. But yeah, it has been the talk of college football for the past 2 months, really.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of sports radio in my car. It's something you hear. Jim Harbaugh has managed to stay in the news despite not even getting to coach on game day. Well, I look forward to, like many of the stories that we cover on the Two Steps show. I look forward to seeing where this goes. I think a lot of the stories that we've covered have had, they've picked up with, new pieces of information. I remember we talked about the Dracula blood getting analyzed, and it finally was analyzed. And they were like, oh, well, we found out that he probably had this thing that made him cry, have tears of blood. And I was like, oh, see, now the follow-up is interesting and maybe not worth a whole show about, but I look forward to the follow-up on this. I think that a sports conspiracies episode is definitely in our future, and maybe we just save that for whenever this thing kind of comes to a head. Whether there's a documentary about it or it's just the whole thing is blown open in the news, I think we need to talk more about it because it fascinates me. It fascinates me especially that this crazy dude could get this far down the road in this program. Mm-hmm. But all that said, I clicked on what I was hoping to be a very crazy story. And I was so badly clickbaited by the truth. The truth of this article, while very interesting and scientifically sound, is not nearly as interesting as what I had maybe hoped for. So my article this week is about the Sphinx, one of the great, ancient mysteries. And this particular article starts us out, this is on CNN, by the way, starts us out with unexpected origin story of Egypt's Great Sphinx unearthed by NYU researchers. Now, first of all, this video, completely worthless. It is literally just stock footage of the Sphinx. But as we scroll down here and read the article, and this, we find out in like the third article that this is still just a theory based on some experiments. So it's not an actual, there's no evidence, quote unquote, although it could be true. The quote here, which is the killer, the vibe killer, our findings offer a possible origin story for how Sphinx-like formations can come about from erosion. And as we find out later on in the article, we can see that this model shows that winds against these places could help form a rough shape that then would later be hand carved by people into our Sphinx. While this is fascinating, and I'm sure geologists everywhere are excited, I was so bummed. I was looking for something exciting about. They figured out they used this special tool or this special procedure, or they had this way of, I was, I guess it makes sense. Certainly this isn't the same explanation for the pyramids, but the idea that the Sphinx would have started as something more or less natural and then be carved into something that looks like an animal, or I can buy all that. But what a bummer.
Yeah, it's kind of lame. It's like, I was, and also I guess I didn't know what the Sphinx looked like. I guess I thought the body was like more detailed and shit too, but it's mostly
because it's always portrayed that way in video games and stuff, where you see the hands of the lion, and we've seen faux versions of Sphinxes in so many movies that I felt the same thing. I was like, oh, it's just a big old mound with a head on it. Really. And even in one of the pictures, I guess let me put this back up. In one of the pictures, you can see in the back, it appears that these are all bricks along these edges, right?
Yeah.
But it could merely be that there's bricks along the outside of a natural formation. So, I'm no expert on the Sphinx. I'm no expert on geology or Egyptian history. But I did find just having this article exist on CNN be kind of interesting, especially since CNN's, they're not in everybody's good graces right now.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it makes sense, the wind and the heat and all that shit. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what more to say than boo. Like, tell me something crazy. Like it was made by aliens, or we found the remains of something crazy there, or some shit.
I mean, the thing that I remember, one of my favorite movies when it came out, and still a great Saturday afternoon watch, is the original Stargate movie, and how they, blended Egyptian history into the aliens and all that sort of stuff. The Sphinx was completely non-existent in that. Like, no one's figured out a good theory for what the thing would have been for. They'll figure it out. Somebody will come up with
to scare people away from their crops.
Yeah, well, and I know there are definitely Sphinxes in general have stories about them. Obviously, we know about the riddle of the Sphinx and the historic notion of that. But I think there's also a belief that there were more Sphinxes, and they've just eroded over time, or were destroyed, or whatever.
You know what? Make this story better. Tell me the wind made the face and shit too, and then I'll be like, all right.
Yeah, my first was, and of course they were like that. There's no way. When I first saw that the answer was erosion, I thought, oh well, maybe they're talking about controlled erosion. Maybe they actually made pathways for water to do the erosion and let the water do the natural work over time. Mm-hmm. Or wind, put baffles up or tunnel, funnel the wind to go a certain direction. But again, I feel like that's a lot of effort. We got thousands of people with sledgehammers. Let's just go at it with
yeah. Let's just beat the shit out of this fucking eroded stone or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, I think limestone.
Limestone sounds right. Yeah,
which you'd have. It would be hard work. But again, they carved the face of it. It's out of lime. So. Mm-hmm. It could be done. Well, as we finish this up on Sunday evening, Fudge, you got anything you want to tell the people?
Excuse me, sorry. Call our voicemail line, 917-979-6071. Do you have a wild theory, story you want to tell us? Do you know anything about the Sphinx that we're missing? Connor Stallions, are you watching this, and is there any inside information you want to give us? Call our voicemail line. We'd love to hear from you. We'll play it on the show, 917-979-6071. Also, check us out on all social media. We are at Edging the Truth on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. www.edgingthetruth for all of your 2 steps or Edging the Truth needs. We also have merch as well. Check that out. We just have the new designs on there now, right, Red?
They will be up this week. By the time Black Friday rolls around, all of these things will be in our shop and available for you for your Christmas shopping.
Check us out for Black Friday, the We Believe series of images on the merch and all of our regular merch in there as well. T-shirts, mouse pads, hats, notebooks, Ouija boards. Check it out. Red, that's all I got.
That's everything. That's all we need. Thank you so much for listening. If you made it this far, on behalf of Fudge, I'm Red, a.k.a. Dave. I guess that's backwards. Dave, a.k.a. Red. We'll see you next time on 2 Steps from the Edge.
Visit edgingthetruth.com for more information and links to all our social media and podcast directories.